Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
If you don't agree with it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you'll have a seat, we'll get started with the meeting. While you are getting to your places, I'll let you know you found cards and pens on your chairs. We're going to have a presentation about streets. We're going to learn first how the whole process works, and then write out your questions. Jeff Stevens, who is coming in right now, will be collecting the questions, and then once the presentation about how the whole process works with the city is ended, your questions will be presented. You can ask as many as you want. We've got over 300 cards over here. Just keep writing them. We'll give everyone one. Come grab more if you need it. We'll begin the meeting. Call to order. We're going to have a flag ceremony by Troop 1212.
Council, attention. Color guard, attention. Color guard, advance. Color guard, prepare to post colors. Post colors. Troop salute. Those on uniform, place your right hand over your heart. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color guard, reform. Color guard, retreat. Council, at ease.
Thank you, Troop 1212. Begin the meeting, and we'll look for our first responders. Do we have anyone here from the fire department?
I spoke to Fire Station 38, and he had hoped to be here tonight, but something made him met him again. It's been a while.
Thank you. We need to have them back. All right, moving on to SDPD, Officer Santos.
Hi there, good evening everyone. So I been approached a lot about neighborhood watch, and thank you for getting that started again here in Mira Mesa. So if you're interested in starting neighborhood watch, I'm going to leave these back there. It has my phone number and my email address. Please contact me. It's really easy. We just need someone from the block to be a block captain, and then you can reach out to your neighbors, and we can get a neighborhood watch started again. You'll build a relationship with us. You can reach out to me. I can go out to your meetings, the beginning of your first meeting, and get the program first started. And then after that, right now, nowadays, you can email people, you can make phone calls. You don't have to go to the meeting every single month. You guys can communicate with your email and stuff and stay in touch and help each other out. So I'll leave that in the back. As far as steps, again, we have our arches and our crime mapping. And we also now have what's called sandiego.nextrequest.com. So if you're looking for specific incidents that you want request and work up, I haven't used this yet, but this came out and we can start looking up specific incidents. This is more for artists to look in your area. So if you want to look up 92126, if you pop in the zip code, then it'll let you know how many accidents were in the area, how many residential burglaries were in the area. That's what artists will be good for. So again, I'll leave those in the back also for you guys to look at. I was approached about the pursuit that was going on. I know we received a lot of phone calls and emails about a pursuit that happened last Wednesday. So it wasn't our officers out of Northeastern Division. It was a couple of officers out of our Special Operations Unit, and they had a special detail that they were working, and they were the ones that were in the pursuit. So we didn't actually assist on that. That was their unit that were handling it. And we But with next door, through our media service unit, they'll put out the information. So with our special operations unit the other day, what they were doing was watching a wanted suspect, and that's how the pursuit started. And he was taken into custody. So again, with those two websites, I'm not quite sure what the two websites are used. I know there's a lot of apps that are out there that reports crimes for the police department, or reports crimes that they try to get through, to help out with the police department. They're not actually associated with us, so it's not information that works right now. But I just want to make sure if you do see stuff like that. Yeah, I looked it up, but they said it's not us, we all have to report that.
Next door would be a good way to get the word out with our
Yeah, there's much more to report about it. So if there's something other person that they're working Did anybody have any questions for me tonight? Yes.
We got our reports of drag racing on Gold Coast and Queen Louise. Gold Coast surprised me because how do you drive Gold Coast? We did have them apparently 12:30. I don't know if it was Saturday morning, Friday morning. Abel was flying over the canyons trying to find them. I can hear them all the way over Mesa Village. What is going on? How are we trying to stop this? Because it's an every weekend thing.
Right, we are getting a lot of good reports, especially in the Mira area from businesses. I'm just now getting reports that, last weekend we saw Able out, we saw a lot of police cars out. And the same thing I told the businesses, they said, we have surveillance cameras and we're letting the police know. But I ran the calls for service, and actually we're not being reported. They'll put it on next door. They'll talk to their neighbors, the businesses. But I have to keep telling them, you need to please call 911 and let us know, because that's the only way it's going to get reported and we can actually get out there. Next door is a great source that we can use, but we don't monitor the next door. We can't see the conversations that you guys are having as neighbors, so we don't know. I know a lot of times when people put it on next door, they think that it goes directly to the police department and it's being reported, and that's not how it gets reported. Yes.
We live off the canyon, so we saw the lights, we heard the screeching, but we also saw, the red and blue lights, so we figured the police were already involved, and then there were...
This past weekend,
Yeah.
yeah, there was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then helicopters.
Correct, yeah, this past weekend, but, talking to the businesses after this past weekend, they said, oh, they're out there all the time, so you need to call us and let us know that this is happening and occurring. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
They can all get back there.
Are you going to tell us about the break-ins?
That's the stats here. So, remember I mentioned earlier, I don't give out the stats anymore, because if I run the calls for service, it may be different once they're reporting on Argus, because people may come home one day and say, oh, I think I do want to make that report, or just come back from vacation, and I'll just be back, and those numbers are going to be thrown off of what's actually being reported. So if you look up Argus, or this website, then we'll make sure to get that information out.
Is that going to tell us how they're breaking in? I mean, there was one behind me a week and a half ago, and it was unusual because there were like 9 cop cars responded. So
I guess where you live.
Santa Armenta, right off Cate Cristobal. And it was just an unusual response. So because typically you tell us like if they're coming in the patio door or like how they're coming in. So just more alarmed that there were 9 police cars that responded, so.
Yeah, I can look out to that, I'll let you know if you can put that up, but like I said, as far as stats, as far as numbers, they're asking us to put these out now.
There was also helicopter floating around the house.
The Santa Armenta, same address?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll look into that. When did it occur?
It was a week ago Friday.
A week ago Friday?
Well, is that the type of thing she's gonna be able to find on that website?
Yes. So artists will tell you, I don't think they'll tell you like this is where they broke in, but it will tell you if there was a burglary, what kind of crimes they were in that area.
Well, I know it was burglary and I know when it happened, but I'm just more concerned with how they're getting in.
Okay. Like I said, I could look into it and we'll let her know.
Just a quick question. We visited the California Highway Patrol earlier last week, and they go out in pairs at night. if it's like a simple problem between neighbors, 2 cars drive up.
What was the CHP doing? I missed your question. The CHP was doing what?
That at night, when they have night patrols, they always go out in pairs. And
Oh,
that's to be expected because they're going highways and all of that. But I was wondering why it is that the San Diego Police Department, if there's just a dispute among neighbors and somebody calls the police, then 2, sometimes 3 cruisers pull up for that.
Most calls you're gonna get 2 officers, officer safety. You're gonna get, if it's a report
Even in
call,
the daytime?
even daytime. I mean, there's major things that happen during the day also. If it's a report, then you're gonna have a single officer show up and take that report. If it's a disturbance between neighbors, you don't know what the situation is gonna be, so for officer safety reasons, or if that officer needs to talk to one neighbor and the other officer talks to the other neighbor, and then goes up to 2 officers. Yes,
That on the website,
I'm sorry,
that on the website.
what's that? How to look it up? I'll leave these in the back for you guys so you can look them up.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just before we start with our information on streets, Taste of Mira Mesa, you had an announcement?
Hi, so I'm Jennifer, and I talked to you guys last month about the upcoming Taste of Mira Mesa. This year, we took a year off, so it's come back full force this year. We visited the venue last week. Oh my gosh, the venue is absolutely gorgeous. We're hoping that you will all come, and so we have a special treat for you guys. You guys can actually buy your tickets tonight. Christine Height has been in charge of pretty much the whole thing. So she's going to talk to you about what to do and how to get your ticket and what all this is about too.
So it'll be really quick because I know you have a big agenda. So I'm Christine Height. I work at the high school. I've been there for 25 years. This is my 26th year. So this year I decided to chair it because I wanted to bring it back. We missed a whole year. So this is the Taste of Mira Mesa. When you buy your ticket, it's $35 tonight or online, or $40 at the door if you decide last minute. So it's just $5 if you decide last minute, you can go. Many restaurants will be there. Ashoka the Great, Baba Kebab, Best Pizza and Brew, Bovalicious, Chick-fil-A, Kotihan will be cooking live. Gazua Sushi, Katie's Caramel Apples, Mimi's Cafe, Jennifer's Food and Nutrition Club at Mira Mesa, and also our Culinary Club at Mira Mesa. Pacific Island Crave will be making fresh lumpia that night. Red Lobster, Smack and Guamanian Grill, Soup Plantation. There are 3 restaurants on here that are Mira Mesa alum. So it's a family business. So we'd like to promote their business too. And they're gonna, all the restaurants donate their food. We don't pay a dime for any of that. We also have raffles here. We have a purse raffle that we do every year, a designer thing. And raffles here, you do not need to be present to win. So if you decide you don't want to go to this event, you can still support the high school and buy tickets. They're $1, the purse is a little bit more. We're selling them tonight. We take cash, check, cash, or credit. Also at the event, there's a silent auction. That's a whole other big event that we have there. So if you guys have any questions later on, I can answer them. You have a couple more weeks to buy tickets. Thank you.
And Christine, where does the money go?
The money goes to at all teacher grants at Mira Mesa High School. And one of the things that we fund every year, as long as I've been on the foundation, we fund the rights to the play at the high school. So every year, I don't know if you guys know how much it is, but some years it's anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 just to put that play on. So we do help provide that, and there's a bunch of things that we provide at the school for the band, for the teachers, for math, for science, for athletics, culinary. So all the money, 100% goes right back to the school.
Thank you, Christine and Jennifer. If you have an interest, head to the back, buy your tickets. So I want to move on, make sure we have enough time. Since our last meeting, the topic of roads, potholes, road conditions, why are our potholes not being filled? How does this whole process work from start to finish? How does our street get nominated? On and on. I thought best way to do this was to go ahead and go to the experts downtown. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Eric Young, Director of Protocol from the Office of Mayor Faulkner. He's going to let you know how all of this works, how they budget, how the streets are selected, how repairs are scheduled, why some things seem to disappear off of getting done. There are sometimes very good reasons. He's going to give us an overview of all that. On your chair, there are cards. I think everyone got at least one card. There are more over here on the table. What we're going to do to make sure that we don't go 3 or 4 hours and get a chance to do other things is have you write the questions. Jeff Stevens, as he does, those of you who come to our political forums, he will collect the questions, gather the ones together that are similar, and make sure as many as possible get asked before the time limit. So, please.
I said one thing before Eric presented. So last month I brought up that we're looking to do get the funding to fix Gold Coast Parkdale finally at that budget meeting on April 30th. So we're deciding to do t-shirts for everybody that attends that event. So I was hoping to get anybody's information that's want to attend. You can sign in here. I get your information, get you more information about that event, and get you just put that t-shirt side on there. I'll send a follow-up email when I'm back in the office about when that event is to you. We do need to have a good show up for that. The reality is there's a lot of people jockeying for streets and funding for it, that Derek will bring up in his presentation. So any streets that you guys are interested in, any questions about, I can check in on, but first and foremost, we want to make sure we have a good show up for the community about Gold Coast. Let me pass this around to you guys. Just put your t-shirt size on the first name and last name, so I can have a copy of that.
And we're going to work with Louise to make sure that this is not the only night you see this. We're going to get this information out on next door, on the website, on Facebook, so that we reach everyone we can and get as many people as we can to show up for the
And just put it over here. So, I'd also encourage that the other streets that you're looking to get funded, I'm trying to get Pegasus funded for as long as I asked, so Coastal Parkdale. You can throw all the name of that street on there and get a little bit as well. Listed the upcoming funding.
Thank you.
Excellent. So we're going to begin. We're going to call the questions.
So,
Eric?
thank you so much for the introductions. I passed around 2 sheets of paper. All you have to do is take one, because I think I see some people looking to see if it's like a couple of pages. All you need to do is take one, and I want to walk everyone through it. It looks like it's still going around, so I'll give a little bit of a background on kind of how we got to the streets that we have today. Just give a little bit of context, and hopefully by then everyone has a paper. So when the mayor took office, he promised to have over 1,000 miles of streets paved. And the reason why we came to that situation that we see, the decrepit streets we see throughout the city of San Diego, potholes everywhere, right, is because, coincidentally, we never were saving funding prior to 2014 for specifically to help improve and repair the streets. So typically, streets are like, think of like a car, where you get a tire rotation, get an oil change, help maintain it over the years so the car was running well. We kind of got to the point where prior to 2014, when the city came time to do an AC overlay, to help fix those potholes and help maintain that street so that it has a longer lifespan, we did not do it. We did that for decades. It wasn't until 2014, Prop H, where we had funding specifically set apart to help improve and repair the roads. So this is very recent, and this is kind of how the accumulation of where we've gotten today. Has everyone gotten their little handout? Is it still going around? Did I run out of handouts? So maybe if some people will be able to share the handout?
No, there should be two.
Is it going around or am I out?
We have them back.
You're just in the back? Okay. So just to give an understanding, I'm going to go through like a quick fact sheet to answer some of the questions that you may have right off the bat. And so what causes potholes? Potholes are caused from obviously use, wear and tear, the sun, water getting underneath it, and breaking it apart. We currently have 6 teams that rotate district by district to repair those potholes. And so that's the process for it. During the rainy season, last winter, we had a significant amount of rains. Potholes were all over the place throughout the whole city. We doubled those teams temporarily. Those teams who typically do more of brush abatement, for example, were the ones who were focusing on that area. We removed those teams that were so focusing on tackling some of the potholes and making sure that's a top priority. When the city does budget for street repairs, typically it goes into a cycle of seeing what's a the damage of it, the OCI report, and this goes on to question 3 as well. The OCI report, which is the measurement of the street. So if you think of like maybe a ruler, the paper still running around?
Do we have any of these papers?
They're all out. That's it.
I'll try to do this often.
Thank you very much.
So if we go, no, you got one? So if we go through the OCI report and it goes off repair, it's a measurement of the street's depth. So you'll measure, like, think of like maybe taking a ruler and seeing how much of the road has been taken away. There are some major roads, like was mentioned Gold Coast, that has been worn so much. There is no AC overlay, there's no pothole fills that we can do to accomplish that. That needs to be ground down, all the way down to the ground essentially, in a complete overhaul, which is why it's so expensive. One of the issues that we found that was mentioned before was the get it done reports. You see a pothole, it doesn't require a giant, massive overlay, it doesn't need ground to loom. You see it and you're like, I put it on to get it done, and you got a close report. Have you guys gotten that? You gotten that? So there's 2 things there that's very difficult and should have been better communicated from our end. The reason why it's a little confusing. One is when there's projects in the future, let's say there's a sewer line, undergrounding your electrical. The city may close out all these reports and wait until 2 months later for that undergrounding to happen because we're going to dig up that street. Another issue could be Caltrans. Caltrans doesn't only operate just the freeways. There are some streets, it gets very weird, but there's some streets that's actually operated by Caltrans as well. And so it's another government agency. Then the last part is duplicates. We automatically close out duplicates. So it doesn't boost it to a higher priority if one person sends in a get it done report for that pothole, or 100 people send a report for the same pothole. That doesn't change anything. We do keep that data to see how many people are concerned, just for information on our end, but that doesn't improve like the tracking and allow it to go into a higher priority. And so that's one of the reasons why you see those close reports. On our end, what's difficult and what we're doing with our Get It Done application is trying to find ways to better communicate that to you, because you guys have no idea. You still go outside, you still see a pothole, and you see a close report. And it could be undergrounding, or it could be a duplicate. You had no idea. So one of the things that our staff is working on with data analytics, PANDA, is to find ways to better communicate. So each department has that ability. So for example, let's say PD, if you report like an encampment, they will call or email you. So each department is finding its process of how to best meet that. As you can imagine, for streets, for the citywide, that's a lot. And so they don't have the staffing. And so how can we find ways for the app to better communicate some of those issues? Then the last portion I wanted to touch on was Project Finder, which is right here. Some people might be a little familiar with Project Finder, so I don't have as many copies, but this is all online. Make sure you get one. I gotta pass this around, please. So what Project Finder is that you can see CIP projects listed online. So you see a pothole and you think, is there going to be undergrounding in 2 months and that's why they haven't responded, or are we just being incompetent? You can look online and you can look at different future projects planned out in the future. You can see it's an AC overlay, what that project may be, streets around you, and it's very interactive and intuitive. And the very last thing I definitely want to touch on is if there are concerns, there is a close report, please use me as a resource. You send a Get It Done report, the number, and then I can follow up with stormwater. So while we were working out that way for the app to be more responsive to you, I can be responsive as to why it was closed, or if it was something that we need to step up on to make sure it gets properly addressed. So just overall, I just want to touch on any of those issues. One of the main things is AC overlay maintenance, projects that are just quite honest, or just needs a massive overlay and needs to be completely redone and they're very expensive, or the reports have been closed and pushed around to different areas. So I'm happy to take I know there's a question card, I'm not sure who's reading the question cards.
I'm going to read them. People put their questions on the life card. Lots of them here and that. Well, I don't have a question.
Do you want to add anything on the other cards?
Just besides just going around and everything, you're able to come to that, because it's broad information.
Right over here. Yeah. No cars? Kara?
Anybody need white card? White card, anybody?
Oh, I'm sorry. There is one more sheet that I totally forgot about. My apologies. In the notebook, who has the notebook? You have the notebook. In the notebook, it has streets slated that have been done already, all the way dating back to 2016. That sheet is for this year. So it gives you a concept, so you know the street names, the exact location. Yes, no, and that's what that's for.
My streets go like.
Yes, ma'am. I don't know where your street is, but it's on.
Why isn't Gold Coast on here?
Yeah.
So,
I'll talk about that actually.
No Gold Coast, no Parkway, no Port Royale.
So that's what I brought up earlier at the last meeting, is that we need to get the money in this budget meeting. So we're asking you guys to come down to basically tell the council we need to get this thing done. So, April 30th meeting, so that street cost $11 million alone to do, which is like the equivalent of doing 10 or 11 different streets citywide.
And 12 cents a gallon for, out here to the local
That's a separate thing, but, no, so to do all of Gold Coast, all of Parkdale, I think there's Lipscomb and Gold Coast Way and Court on there as well. That whole project is $11.1 million to finish.
So basically from Salt to Wagon.
Yeah, the length of it, yeah.
And the residents will all set
It
out.
seems to me
It's hard
that
to
you're
hear
doing
when all you
everything.
guys are talking. The reason for the extreme price is because when that road was built early on in the development of this community, it was not built properly.
That's why it's under.
And it is deteriorating, and no amount of slurry seal or asphalt overlay is going to fix it. It's deteriorating from underneath. So you're just going to throw down asphalt, slurry seal it, and it's going to sink,
To
and
put that in
you'll keep
perspective,
patching it.
they tested repaving that about a year and a half ago, and it broke after 6 hours. So they paved a block of it, and then it literally cracked, so they have to redo the whole thing in order to finish the project.
So when's it gonna get done?
Okay, so let me ask some questions. If people have more questions, go ahead and write them down. I'll collect them a little later. Louise, you should stay up here too, because some of these can be creative. We'll start with this one. So why are potholes not filled? Pothole is filled 2 months later.
We can hardly hear.
Can't hear you.
Come in the middle.
The question is, why are potholes not filled properly? Pothole is filled, and then a couple months later, it's back again. So why is the repair so poor on potholes?
why are potholes not filled properly? So one of the things that we're doing, that we're changing, because we've seen that, we do it up to code and to standard. So it's not that like incompetency of the city team that's filling the potholes. We're looking for new technological advances. So we have a pilot program actually out that's right now that's being tested. It's cold pressing. And so we want to find means and more advanced ways to make sure that potholes are more of a sufficient way to address the issue, because we see it. We fill up a pothole, particularly like for example last winter, it rained and they were all open again. It didn't sustain, it wasn't sustainable, it wasn't helpful, and so that's one of the things that we see that how we can address it.
All right. What are the sources of funding for road repairs? Are communities that pay higher property taxes getting priority on repairs?
The funding comes from the city budget. I represent District 6, 8, and 9. So it's prioritized both on how poor the streets are, the thoroughfare, how many people are using it, if it is a very busy thoroughfare. And then that's where those priorities will oftentimes get prioritized, and that's where the funding comes from. Some of it, actually I won't say that part, but some of it, for example, is emergencies. So we don't have the budget, or we don't have if we could, we would, but we don't have the ability to budget for an emergency. So for this year, for instance, we'll prioritize to say 50 streets. Then we had Cook's Cave that turned out was going to collapse, and we didn't fix it. That took, I don't want to misquote, but it took a lot of millions of dollars to fix that before the cave collapsed. So that's an example of where we have our budget priorities for the year, but because of an emergency, I believe we've had 4 so far, Because of that emergency, that money is then taken away to make sure that gets addressed immediately. For, was it property? Property taxes or something like that. We do try to allocate funding equally distributed equally throughout all the districts. So one of the things that used to happen years ago, before the mayor took office, was if you were friends with the mayor, or if you were in the same political party, you would get more parks, longer library hours, a little bit more street improvements. The mayor said that doesn't work, that doesn't fly. We have one San Diego. So we prioritize, and for the most part, we try to make sure that all districts get the same amount of funding in relation to the amount of streets. So as a representative of District 9 as well, they have less streets. So they get a little bit less funding. So they try to make it comparable and as fair as possible. And then also focusing on underserved communities for the longer library hours, just touching on that. Longer library hours, rec centers, and anything along those lines. So to answer your question, it tries to be equally distributed amongst all 9 districts.
So one thing that a lot of people have noticed is that roads in surrounding communities like Poway seem to be in much better shape. Roads in areas that have much more extreme weather also seem to maintain their roads much better than San Diego does. So why is that? What do they do differently than San Diego does?
For Poway, we're 8th largest city in the country. It's not. We have a lot more areas that we have to maintain. It's much bigger, but it's kind of something that I touched on before. Before 2014 and Prop H, there was no dedicated funding for streets and infrastructure, which is kind of crazy. They did not correctly maintain. If you guys remember, I'm going really far back. Well, not that far back, but Enron by the Sea. When we were suffering from the pension, they would skip out on things that, for example, library hours, paving our streets, fixing our potholes, and that happened for decades. And so that's kind of where we are now, where we're having streets like Gold Coast, as I mentioned before, not only done poorly, but it has to be completely redone, all the way around, all the way down to the, essentially to the dirt, to be redone.
Another thing that a lot of people have noticed is that the city will come in and it will slurry seal a whole bunch of streets in an area, but they'll miss some of them, and we'll never come back and do those that are left over, and they're often the ones that are in the worst shape.
It's the last
Why
job.
that is and how you get these streets that appear to be back on the list.
So maybe I can touch on exactly the street so I can be more specific so it doesn't seem like I'm dodging this question. But typically, just generally speaking, when we're paving streets, it would be main thoroughfare. So let's say you're paving a street, and it's also bundling. So let's say we're paving a street and we're bundling with SDG&E. That can get a street that will cost exponentially more money when we pair it with another project. So it's like, while you're putting in the undergrounding, when you do that, let us come over and pave the street. So instead of that patchwork you might see in the middle of the street when they're putting in undergrounding, or like a sewer main, we'll go over and it's like, let's just redo the street since we're already digging it up. So that could be the answer for one of those places. Also, some of the answers might be, it may not be a major thoroughfare. So cul-de-sacs are very costly and it only affects a limited amount of people. That could be the honest truth as well. I'm speaking very hypothetical because I don't know the exact location of these streets. But I'm happy to connect afterwards to get those locations to give you a direct answer.
I'll give you a couple of examples. Antrim, all the streets around Antrim and Royal Ann were paved, but those particular streets were left. They haven't been, there haven't been any pipelines put in or anything. They just got skipped apparently. I have a couple of questions here also about Frobisher and Dunholm. Which have not been paved for 20 years or so.
Say that one more time.
Dunholm and Frobisher.
Yes, sir.
I think it'd be helpful in that case, just get a list of every street you see going to us, do it one by one, would probably be the best solution to that.
All right. How many city workers are dedicated to roads?
So I know we have 6 pothole teams. How many city workers are actually dedicated to it? I would have to get back to you on that. I can answer. I want to say it's 4.
Someone asked why you don't use private contractors to do it.
I'm not sure that's true. I can actually, we do partner and we do hire private contractors, and I'm going to send a text out. Did you ask that last question? How many city staff are
How many city workers are dedicated to roads?
I might get a response.
The question is, if your car is damaged, can you get reimbursed by the city? Is there anything you can do in that case?
Yeah, so if your car is damaged, you can submit a claim to the city through risk management. I know people, including actually one of my friends, she submitted a claim and was able to win the claim. So that is the direction I would definitely recommend something like that.
So there's a website, there's a risk management link. I've seen.
What kind of damage? My suspension's out.
My suspension is out.
Whatever damage that you receive from the city road, you will submit that claim, and you obviously will be able to show some form of proof, blown tire, whatever it may be, suspension. I'm not sure how that will work,
Right.
but that's what, there's a process that you fill out, and that goes directly through risk
Can you
management.
say again where you do that?
So if you yes sir. So if you go on the website and you type in risk management, city of San Diego, it will automatically take you to the web page. On there is a little link to the right. They'll say submit a claim. Then there's like some paperwork that you'll fill out. When I say it's only like 2 or 3 pages, nothing too crazy or extensive, and then you'll fill that out and you'll submit that claim. And then that's how that will get processed. Yes, ma'am.
So one more pothole question. There is a machine we've seen on the news called a pothole killer. Does the city have one of those and use it?
Pothole killer is a large machine that can be operated by one person that drives over an area with potholes and applies the asphalt. It's used in a number of cities to do areas with lots of small potholes.
Because I'm going on a limb, that could be the new process of the cold pressing. I don't know what a pothole killer is, but we are going through a new process to try to fix those potholes more efficiently and with less manpower. So that sounds like it could be, but I'm.
To your point, Mira, I remember on our presentation about Gold Coast last year, they told us that there's a specific machine they need a contract with to do it. It's this, some sort of giant Tonka truck looking thing that will do the entire street, section by
That's the
section.
grinder
Yeah.
that will take up. And this is, in lieu of, I saw city workers out today with shovels and asphalt. In lieu of getting out of the truck with shovels and asphalt, this truck drives over the pothole and applies the asphalt and presses it.
That's not bad.
Kind of like a steamroller.
It's supposed to reduce the amount of human labor required.
So I know this isn't all.
Can I just jump in? So we don't have the exact number, but we have several dozen. Does that help at all? For numbers of city workers applying, and it goes district to district, they rotate.
So that's for the whole city, not just.
That's for the whole city.
So, this specifically asks about Proposition 13, but there's also Proposition C on the ballot. Both of them claim to address the street falling apart problem. How much good will either of those, Proposition C or Proposition 13, do?
I can speak on C, and that was the part where I paused and said maybe I shouldn't say it right now. so Proposition C would, if you voted yes on Proposition C, would have dedicated stream from all tourism dollars going into fixing our streets, dedicated to fixing our streets, and to serving the homeless population. So yes, the answer is yes, it would definitely help fix the streets.
You address how much, I mean, that has like 3 things that are just being paid for by it. The biggest one being the expansion of the convention center. What fraction of that is going to street repairs?
I cannot answer. I don't want to guess and make up a fraction. I want to say that it is a large dedicated revenue, and we have a huge backlog of streets that need to be repaired. They need to be completely repaired. We have a backlog of streets that need to be repaved. Any form of money will be helpful, including speaking on the emergency fund, where we have our priorities. We just don't have the flexibility to have an emergency fund, and that will happen every single year. Something will happen, something drastic, a sinkhole, and that money is now diverted over there because it has to be fixed the right way.
Another numerical problem. Do you know how many miles of streets there are in the city and how many are repaired each year?
I actually got asked at a very quick meeting.
Could you ask that question one more time?
How many 20 miles in the city of San Diego. That actually got asked at a meeting I was at. I can't remember the exact number.
And how many did we carry this year?
More than 10,000 miles, but how many miles are there?
3,000 miles of streets.
Thank you. So we repaired over 1,000 miles. The promise was when the mayor took term that he would repave over 1,000 miles in his 2 terms. We've already accomplished that a year ago, but that doesn't mean we're stopping. And some of that has to do with the slurry seals, the AC overlays. So that's kind of like why we might be seeing more of these larger, big budgeted projects, because we were able to tackle and address a lot of those streets and maintain them. So some of the streets that look great are doing well is because we're now consistently maintaining, and that's where that's getting focused as well. So we don't get to the point where there's a whole repair for a street that costs $11 million. That's something that we're trying to avoid.
So I know that sometimes the street repairs are coordinated with utilities being put in, and sometimes they aren't. Can you tell us what the process is for determining whether they will be coordinated?
So that's probably one of the failures that the city had done previously, was that you've probably all seen it personally, where you'll see cities repair something, and you see, I don't know, SDG just tear right up. It happens. We've all seen it, and so that's why recently, in the past couple of years, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we had a streets moratorium where you can't cut through the cements of the asphalt unless it's an emergency, fixing some type of water main break or something along those lines. We want to focus on those things to make sure that gets addressed for that thing to not happen. I spoke about bundling. We have a good network of cooperation between intergovernment agencies, so like Caltrans, for example, SDG&E, anything along those lines, where it's much financially frugal, and we're more responsible. When we see something like that, we're like, let's wait, and this could go to why some streets are put on hold. Let's wait 6 months to say, because SDG&E has this plan, we can bundle that together, and it'll save so much more money, and we can get that done all in one fell swoop. That could be the answer to some of the reports that are closed, as I was speaking to before. And on that project finder is a way to see that. So there's also accountability on our end, so you can look, actually it's not, why was it closed? That's where I'll respond and call up TSW department and ask them, why was their report closed if they don't have a project coming on, and what's the priority, where are we sitting here today?
Two of the worst streets in Mira Mesa that have been falling apart for a decade are Parkdale and Gold Coast. And as you heard from Luis, there is a proposal to finally redo those streets, but it's competing with other roads in the city. What is the mayor's position on getting those roads fixed? Is that a priority for him in his budget?
So, for all the streets that need to be repaved is a priority in the mayor's budget.
Yeah,
we only have a little bit of
How much keep asking for that?
And the council office keep asking me. I definitely recommend, because this also goes to the council office because they help approve the budget on what's getting prioritized when we submit our budget. Go sign up. I highly recommend, because that kind of helps give a showing and an idea of the community and their desires in front of council, because that is very helpful, and it helps influence those type of decisions. We know that Gold Coast is one, and just being prepared for this meeting, I looked it up, that we don't have the funding, but the project is estimated to be slated for June of 2021. That may be subject to change. So that's where we are. So we do have it already on our list of things that need to be done and budgeted for. We just don't have the funding. So this will be helpful, and that may influence the timeline as well.
All right, so this was a couple-part question. So it's a little out of the subject area, but I wanted to get it done out and handle shopping carts, which we've tried to handle in other ways here.
That's totally fine. So actually, my title, Director of Protocol, Homeless Advisor, and then I'm Senior Representative for District 68 and 9. So shopping carts, possibly things that are trash or litter that are seen, those does handle that. If it's, let's say, depending on where it's located, it would be helpful. Worst comes to worst, the city will take your get it done reports and send it to the correct department. Let's say for instance, you see a shopping cart, it's in the public right away, it's not supposed to be there, the nearest Target is a mile away and you're like, why is there a Target cart right there? The city can then be responsible for those carts and connect either with Target, those grocery brands who are responsible for maintaining the carts, and let them know. If the Target cart, let's say, is in a ravine, stormwater, that will then go to stormwater. We don't necessarily expect every constituent to know, like, oh, that's stormwater, oh, that's a public right of way, so the owners are responsible for those things. So report it on, get it done, at the very least on other, and we can decide. If you already know and you see it in a sewage pipe, and you're like, well, it's gonna clog up the drain, stormwater will handle it, and that would be a very important. If you see, when I say directly in the public right of way, like in the streets, ESD will immediately respond, and that's to anything. So shopping cart, a couch in the middle of the street will respond immediately, and that's a top priority.
But you will actually call either the store or the retrieval service?
They will. Well, city will. City will. But I should say, like, the grocery stores are responsible for their own carts. If it poses a danger or hazard, that's when we'll get involved.
This says you only have 7 people filling potholes. Is that true?
7 people?
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
The phone call like that. City, Carl people called me on the phone and had a discussion
And
about
then
my
they check
pothole
with
reports.
several.
I said they only had 7 people out, 13 adults, working the pothole problem.
I can say as far as I know, no, that's not true. But I'm not sure where that is, so I'm checking that out.
When did you hear that?
Friday.
Do you know who you spoke with by any chance?
No.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say this.
Because I can definitely hit them up directly, just to make sure.
They just told me don't drive on the 300 pothole course in one street, just get like a couple, and say like there's multiple potholes on the street, and you come different.
You might find out how many people are actually.
Let's plug in the computer system.
What is, so this other question is on asphalt funding, but you might say, what is it that controls the cost of the road? Is it the designs, is it the labor, is it the asphalt? How is that partitioned?
I would say all of it. From labor, I mean, even going into design, depending on what the project is. The complete overhaul and resurfacing is just extremely costly. So I just keep going back to Gold Coast because I know that's a serious issue. That is just extremely expensive because you have crews grinding all the way down, all the way through all the layers. There's a lot of layers that you don't see all the way down to the ground.
Okay, there are a couple of questions that are a little out of the topic area, but I'm going to go ahead and ask them. One is an objection to bicycle lanes, which are taking parking spaces away and reducing the traffic. Do you have a position on that?
I don't know the location, but I guess I don't have a position. I don't know the location. So I'm in support of those. For example, in North Park 30th and the bicycle lane. Was that you? Okay, so we're in favor of the climate action plan that we have and meeting our climate action goals. We want to make sure that transportation and transportation justice is available for everyone, whether you ride a bike, take public transportation on a bus, or drive your car. And we want to make that as safe as possible. So the other important note is Vision Zero. Vision Zero is to try to eliminate traffic fatalities. We have some of the most dangerous corridors in the state. We're aware, and so that's one of our goals is to be able to have the opportunity to have safe bike lanes. What we've seen from a large economic standpoint on other places that have installed those bike lanes, like we have some over at El Cajon Boulevard, is actually it helps to increase business because of the foot traffic that's going by. And we also, depending on the bike lane, I think 30 is a little bit different. There are some places that will have angle parking, and that will be a protected bike lane. So it'll be traffic, parking, then cars. And so some parking will get taken away, but for the most part, the vast majority will stay. And then 30th, there's a parking garage in North Park that's not used that has I'm making the number up, 550 spaces.
Going back to potholes once more, another thing that people have noticed is that certain areas seem to get the potholes filled rather frequently, and other areas will go for 10, 20 years or longer and be in very bad shape and not get filled. So what is it that
Triggers
what is it that triggers a street to get on the list to be filled, and why would they get filled that don't really need it yet?
Yeah. So I can't answer to this. It sounds like this might be very specific. So I can't answer to the specific street, but generally speaking, most streets that have heavy traffic is a busy thoroughfare. That's going to be a top priority. How many people does it impact throughout the city? So that might be a top priority. I represent districts 6, 8, and 9. I kind of hear this. I hear that view and I understand it in every community, in every district. That it feels like another district might be getting a different share. We do have a budget, we have that list that's very limited, but we do have a budget of where our streets are getting funded and how much money in our budget's going away. So our new budget will be out in May-ish, right? I can happy to share that, and then you can see exactly which districts, which communities are getting funded for the different projects as well. And you can see last year's as well online on the city's webpage. So to kind of pull our change that like that happens.
The next question is a pedestrian safety problem. This is something that happens at, we have certain streets like the intersection of Black Mountain Road and Mira Mesa Boulevard that are extremely busy and have a lot of traffic going through them, and it makes people nervous crossing them. So are there any plans to install lighted no turn lights and crosswalks? That these signs light up when the walk is illuminated?
So I can speak on the illuminated. So one, I can definitely have a traffic engineer to assess the traffic flow, look at the lights to see if it qualifies. So that's it. Black Mountain Road, do they have an intersection?
Black Mountain Road, Mira Mesa Boulevard.
We should certainly the commuter ways in Mira Mesa Boulevard.
When it comes, so now I'm just going to jump to the lighting. So we can have a traffic engineer assess the traffic flow and see how the lighting should work. When it comes to I think you said the lighted crosswalk, we don't do that anymore. That is a very expensive, they do not. And they're hard to repair when the light goes out, and so you do this massive infrastructure improvement, and it rains, something happens, traffic accident, the lights no longer work. So to just answer that last part, we do not do those anymore.
So one thing that has happened because Gold Coast is so bad, a lot of cars have been using Flanders instead. You know if Flanders is deteriorating or will it be any higher on this?
It is. Yep.
So when they're doing the traffic count, they do take that into account, particularly when people are using back streets and going through the neighborhood, and as well as should we do bulb outs? Should we do speed bumps? Should we narrow the streets? Should we, there's all these type of different innovative ways to calm traffic, change the eye concept, roundabouts instead of traffic lights. We do it all, and so to answer that question, we are aware, and that does get taken into account.
Jade Coast is another one of those that people cut through and use that off of California's to go around. Because you can get that way and then we're just all
We just generally have a lot of trouble with our east-west streets, not only because of the road conditions, but because the traffic's so heavy in east-west direction, the rush hours that people use Capricorn and Flanders and Gold Coast as alternate routes to Mira Mesa Boulevard. You have one more? I was going to ask one last question. So, how do they use the stop signs with lights in the city, considering them?
Illuminated stop signs, they use them in Arizona and Hawaii.
I can't think of it.
That's what I'm thinking right now.
Getting a stop sign installed, you go through the planning group, we've done a couple of them in the community, but illuminated ones, that's not a part of that policy. I don't believe so.
I also, usually everything that lights up, typically it looks really nice when it puts in, but maintaining it doesn't work out very well. So I don't know, but I would say no. Luis touched on a topic that I was just about to say when we were talking about Flanders, J-Coast, places where people are cutting through, and the increase of traffic. One that might have to, or will have to go to the planning group. But one of the things that's important to note is that if we're putting in a stop sign, if we're trying to narrow traffic, change the speed limit, all those type of things can present an impact to the neighborhood and the community as well that lives on those streets, and that becomes an issue as well. So just take that in note. I'm not saying that I won't have the traffic engineers look at it, but that does happen. We've had places where they also monitor, according to California code of regulations, is that they match the average speed of the traffic as well. So we might have a traffic engineer go out and it's like, all right, let's make this, I don't know, 10 miles per hour, and they look and everyone's going 40 miles per hour, and it's not cutting through a residential neighborhood, and it used to be 25, it would end up being 35, based off codes and conducts they have to follow. So that's just something to be aware of as well. Yeah, it's weird, but then that does happen.
All right, last question. Going back to Gold Coast Park Deal again. There's a budget review hearing on Thursday, April 30th, from 6 to 8 p.m. How important is it for us to be at that meeting?
I'll answer that. Basically, so everyone is jockeying in this budget to get whatever they want to have fixed. Whatever in City Heights needs to get fixed, whatever in District Valley needs to get fixed, but we don't have the money to get the streets done. The bottom line is if you don't get the money in this budget, the streets won't get repaved for those two. They know how much it costs, they know how long it takes to finish the project, but unless we get the money, we can't do anything.
And we're all fighting over the same dollars.
So we need to go to the meeting to
Yes, ma'am.
scream the loudest, okay.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Let me follow that up with just one other question. Suppose they don't fund it. And these roads are really falling apart. There are weeds growing up and the cracks in the they're turning back
of dirt
on
outside the gutter, like really 4 inch of dirt at Gold Coast because of the dirt. Just
They're in very bad shape, so.
very, very bad shape.
If the city decides not to do this
We're
for
like-
some reason, what fallback is there? Just wait another year, 5 years, 10 years?
I don't know.
Oh,
I would say the fallback would be to keep advocating. We could think outside the box and look at possibly statewide grants that could help that we can apply for. So there's different possibilities that we can look to address. But the question is kind of posed in the realm of hypothetical of what may happen, and I can't speak to that. There could be a possibility of that it's not funded, and we could shift it as emergency funding. That would just deprioritize some other streets, which is a possibility too, because it is in bad shape. So that's an option as well. There's so many variables for me to try to answer the hypothetical.
You brought up one thing I do want to ask this question also, the state funding. There was a report in the newspaper the other day that there's state funding for road repair is going unused. How do we get some of that money when we need it?
So recently we hired actually 2 people in our office to write grants and focusing and working with the state. We have a whole new government affairs team that goes up to Sacramento and lobbies for these exact things, as well as the 2 individuals applying grants. And that's for a whole array of things, including the road repair. And so that's one of the top priorities that they're doing. And they just got started last year. They just got hired on, and we made room on the mayor's staff to be able to address these very issues.
What do you think we'll get from that?
There's a lot of money. Again, another hypothetical, I'm not entirely sure. One of the things that I've seen, this is a little off topic, but just to show like what we've been doing, is that we've gone both to the federal level and to the state level, for example, for the Tijuana River Valley, and for funding. Once we got awarded the funding to help fix the river valley, that is completely dedicated. Once that funding came, dollars are coming into the city. Now different municipalities are trying to jump in and try to take those dollars. That's just kind of how that works. And so we were making sure to fight for San Diego, make sure San Diego's prioritized, and tell everyone like, no, you're the one who had a delegation go to Sacramento. We had a delegation that went to the federal government to get this funding. Same thing for the grants we apply. We have the grant writers. We have the government affairs team that goes to Sacramento and meets with the state legislator. So we want the funding and try to get as much as we can. We are one of the biggest cities in California, so I hope that we get a lot. But again, this is one of the hypothetical questions that I don't want to lie to you guys and say we'll get a lot. I don't know.
As a follow-up, we were talking about the budget meeting, and I think, Jeff, you touched on it. Is it, if it doesn't happen this year, we try again next year? Is that it? I mean, is that what we're looking at? I mean, is
So,
that
I mean,
the whole thing?
So we had, I know a couple of you guys went to the 2 previous local forums we had about a year ago. So they spent the last year doing an engineering study on both of those streets to find out how long it took. So that project is either about to be completed or is being completed right now. So they know how long it takes to fix the project, they know how much it costs, but you can't kickstart the project until you get the money to do it.
Right. So my question is, if we don't get it in this budget, are we just trying again the next year, is that?
I prefer to avoid that option.
I think what you're saying to us is if we don't get it in this budget cycle, the mayor's office now has grant writers, and we should appeal to the grant writers and the mayor's office to go after other funding?
I'm saying, yes, you can definitely do that, but what I'm saying is that, yes, you can, if it doesn't go through this year, that does not mean that that is the only option that you have. There are other options to pursue. I'm not saying the likelihood of the percentage might be higher or anything like that, but keep pushing for the Gold Coast, keep pushing for street improvements in your communities in this district. That I highly recommend it because that's all can be done, and it's not just the budget process. So keep pushing forward throughout the whole year and not just wait until like the next budget season.
As Asa says, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Indeed. So Eric, I want to thank you for coming out on the and wasting you.
Thank you. I know. I can see that. I have my business card here. Streets, get it done reports that are closed, and you're like, I swear there's no underground happening next to my house. Why is it closed? I don't know, but if you send me to get a report number, I can find out. Stormwater, Public Works answers to the mayor's office, so that's something I can get the answer to a lot of your questions. So I'm going to pass it out this way, and pass it this way. And then, the notebook. So this notebook, hopefully everyone got a paper. I'm leaving it here, so anyone who wants to take a look at it. This has information going all the way back to 2016 on streets that are getting done. So just to give it, I think more information is helpful as well as steps for the project.
Can I ask one follow-up? You talked about multiple tickets doesn't necessarily jump something higher on the list. If there were multiple claims for car damage, do the city lawyers and insurance reps say, hey, the street is costing us a lot?
That would be a question for the city attorney's office.
Okay.
I couldn't answer that.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
This is not something we're just going to let end tonight. We're looking for ways to keep in contact with all of you when these reports come in or get it done, so that we can help track what's going on, ask the same questions, receive reports on one street. Take a call. We'll be learning more about that this month. We're going to go ahead back to the usual program. First thing we're going to do is approval of the minutes that have been posted on the website. Does anyone have errors, edits, omissions? Hearing that, we're going to go ahead and accept the minutes as approved. President's report, I am going to refer for a moment to our treasurer Jonathan. We have the budget that needs to be approved for the year.
I have copies of the budget in the back. Basically, we're gonna make about 1,600, go up about 1,600 more, make about 4,000 from the 4th of July. Then sorry. We're about 6,800 from there. Yes. We lose money on the volunteer of the year, about 2,000 there. Scholarship, we have the 3,000 scholarship to send out. We're short about 1,000. I have to donate to the scholarship program.
I thought I'd collect these because they'll be all over the floor.
2,000 for donations. We bring in about 2,000 membership. So we spend about 6,000 in admin, that's insurance. So overall, we're planning to go up about 1,600 at the end of the year. Last year we went down about 3,000, but that's because we had some banners we didn't expect to buy, some unplanned banners, and some volunteer of the year expenses that carried over from the year before. So we should wind up with about 64,000 at the end of the year. Anybody have any questions or comments?
I'll make the motion to approve Jonathan's work on this.
Do we have a second? Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? Okay, members, all in favor of adopting
Yes.
34 in favor, any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. The budget is adopted. Thank you. My president's report is short and sweet. We're trying to continue to bring the subjects to you like tonight on the streets. Let us know what concerns you. We'll have someone here. We're also going to be putting out some notices. We need volunteers for certain things. We may have filled one tonight. We'll find out this week. We don't have a newsletter editor. The team put that together ourselves. We'll also be looking for some volunteers for things like Neighborhood Watch, tracking some of these Get It Done reports, acting as a liaison to the city, helping with events, helping with social media. So we'll be putting that list out online. We'll be sending it out to members, and we'd love to have you 1 hour a week. With some of these, you can do 1 hour a week just from your home, send out emails, do something like that. Others take larger commitments. Think about it, because we are all volunteer, and those of you who follow what goes on in Scripps Ranch, they now have their Get It Done Ourselves program. Theirs is very aggressive. They're going out and painting over graffiti, and they're going over and fixing benches and things like that they don't want to wait on the city. We're going to start a little smaller, but we do need to have a bit of that in the community. You see how big that San Diego is. Mira Mesa is just a piece of it. While we're an incredibly huge community, one of the largest, we're the largest community in an incredibly huge city. So some of the stuff we're going to need to take a little volunteer effort to either get the city's attention, or maybe some of these just handle them ourselves to make sure our community stays the place that we've always known it to be, the place we want to live out and have our families. All right, we'll move on to government business. We'll start with the community planning group.
All right, so at the
I skipped, I'm sorry.
so we've been was holding our community plan update meetings prior to the planning group meetings at 5:30 p.m. with the planning group starting at 7. Those meetings have been interesting and often controversial. At the last meeting, there were proposals from the city for mixed use in industrial areas. Mixed use means combinations of residential, industrial, and commercial. It can be almost any combination of those things. But the city is primarily trying to get residential, more places for residential. And so they proposed particularly 3 areas in Serrano Mesa: the Plaza Serrano Shopping Center, Barnes Canyon Road, and in the corner of Pacific Heights and Mira Mesa Boulevard, there's actually one lot. And those proposals are for anywhere from a few hundred to a few thousand residential units. Also, the other industrial area is Miramar, and the proposal there is for mixed use. Quite undefined at this point, but in the area from roughly east of Camino Ruiz, extending all the way to Black Mountain Road. So those will be fleshed out and defined better, but those are the proposals, and they were actually fairly well received at the last meeting. At the next plan update meeting, we'll be talking about transportation. That's also a very important one. The city wants more bike lanes, more transit. Everyone wants more of those, but it may also impact, cause some reconfiguration of the roads that will impact the ability for cars to use the roads. So that will be our next meeting. That next meeting is on 2 weeks from today, March 16th here. At the planning group meeting, we approved the soft park development plan. That's been in process for quite a long time. It's a very nice plan. That will be a new park area behind Geneseo Elementary School. We also disapproved a marijuana processing facility on Carroll Road. We've actually approved a lot of those when they've come in with fairly well-developed plans. The plans for this one were not at all well-developed, so we said, go away and come back later. They've also already used up their allocation of 40 MPF, so there aren't supposed to be any more of them built unless the city council changes that, or unless some of them go out of business and make room for some new ones.
Okay, thank you.
So 2 weeks from today, March 16th, back here, 5:30 for the committee plan update meeting, 7 o'clock for the planning meeting.
apologize, I skipped one item. We have a presentation from Ted regarding the Volunteer of the Year Monument.
Okay, I'll be brief, and Joe Frischel will follow me, that'll kind of work out. In our most recent park update included the addition of a monument upon which the names of the Volunteers of the Year will be affixed there in public view for everybody to see. Both the fact that Mira Mesa has such a program, that the Mira Mesa Town Council has such a program, and that these wonderful people did contribute mightily to their community. So Bruce Brown has volunteered to pay to affix all of the Volunteer of the Year names since 1984 through 2019. So that's very, very magnanimous of it. But the one thing that Bruce asked was that I come to this group and make sure that the Mira Mesa Town Council knows what is happening, and I'll explain how it works in just a second, and that they approve that. So here's how it works. As far as the Mira Mesa Town Council is concerned, nothing changes. The process by which the Volunteer of the Year is selected is strictly up to the MMTC. That's it. Now, once a Volunteer of the Year is chosen in December of each year, that person then becomes eligible to have his or her name affixed to the Volunteer of the Year monument. Eligible. I say that because some people don't want their name on it. They don't want to be out there. You don't need a reason. All I have to say is I don't want it. And in fact, what we're going to do is I'm thinking we're going to have a form that they actually fill out and say, I want my name on the wall, on the monument wall sometimes, but it's really a rectangular monument. And in fact, if you walk along the sidewalk on New Salem, on the right side, walking past the Bill Johnson Recreation Center, you'll see it right there. You know, it's right smack in the middle of everything. So the point is that people don't have to have their name on there just because they're volunteer here. If they don't want their name on there, it doesn't go on it. If their name has been affixed to that wall and they subsequently want to remove, they get removed. It won't go back again. That's it. Okay. So that gives, I think, plenty of freedom for individuals to have their name on the wall if they're the volunteer year or not. Okay, so it's up to each individual. Also, we are going to add a policy. The city has rules with regard to names on city property, and if a person defames themselves or is defamed, then there has to be a process by which the name gets removed. And I'll cite one horrible example for you, the Bill Cosby. You know, if something like that happens, and a person whose name is on the wall, you know, is the victim or is the person like that, well, that name's going to be coming off. And so that's a city policy, and it's real easy. So what I would like, though, is a vote, or I guess I want to hear a motion that the Mira Mesa Town Council supports putting the names on the Volunteer of the Year wall under the conditions I just mentioned.
I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you very much.
Are you going to open it up for questions?
We have a motion and a second.
I don't want to overstep it.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
But who's going to maintain this?
Park and Recreation Department. It's on the Park and Rec property.
So they're going to maintain it, cut the grass or whatever, and
Yeah, like
polish
they do
it
now.
up, and then it gets defamed, what, you know, spray painted, which, you know, I mean, it's good. I mean, we have a lot of.
Well, I don't know, it's not a concrete sort of monument, so the monument itself won't require a lot of maintenance, but certainly, you know, trimming around it and things like that.
Oh, it's on the ground?
It's
Oh,
on,
okay.
if anybody,
All right.
I had a chance to print out copies, I went by there Saturday afternoon. It's in front of the recreation center at the edge of the parking lot that's along New Salem. You can't miss it if you're going into, anybody who wants to see me afterwards, I'll happily show it. There are two sides to it.
Yes, ma'am.
How will the names be put on?
I'm not exactly sure, but there are rectangles there, I guess
So
about
they'll be
like
like
20 or
on
so on
metal,
each
or
side.
will they be carved in there like a grave mark? Because
No.
It's metal, there are metal rectangles
Tiles.
on the side.
And
like
those look, those can get kind of crummy looking after a few years.
I don't think so. I think that, you know,
Well, they can always be replaced.
you know. So, I mean, the design of the monument is done, we really don't have much to say about that right now. So what we do have something to say about is what names go on it. And so I think we have a process where Mira Mesa Town Council does exactly what it does, how it does it, and then the Mira Mesa Recreation Advisory Group does what it does. And the names thereby wind up on the wall for those people who want their name. So we're trying to keep it simple.
So for simplicity's sake, what has happened is the monument is already constructed. It was put up as part of the current park renovations.
Right.
It's ready to go. Park and Rec wants to have a process by which names go up there. Nothing changes for us. The Volunteer of the Year is a program that Town Council has done every year. We'll still do it exactly the same way. I believe what we're looking for is permission or our approval for the Recreation Council then to reach out to the newly elected Volunteer of the Year each year, ask if they want their name included. If so, get assigned permission for the city records, since Park and Rec is part of the city. If they decline, they'll have the form signed stating that they do decline. Those will be on record so that if anyone asks, the names that are up there are only those where a Volunteer of the Year has said, yes, it is all right. Those that don't want it or later ask to have their name removed, there will be a record that that was done. So if there's ever a question about how the names got up there, why some names are not there, the city has its paperwork to say so. For us, nothing else changes. There's no cost incurred by us. This is all handled under Park and Rec. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, we will pay for the future plaques.
Somebody will.
Yeah.
It's probably about $3 a plaque, you know, not a whole lot of money.
Okay? That's very magnanimous of you, Jeff.
One other question. Ted, if someone says they don't want their name on there, do we put 1995 wish to be unnamed or just
leave a blank? I mean, we don't leave a blank, we skip, you know.
We skip that year.
Okay.
That place will be occupied the next year.
Okay.
If a name comes off, there'll be a blank.
Yeah.
In which case, we'll probably think of something crafty to put there. Hey, Joe.
Well, I think really what we need to put them on there by the date. And if somebody doesn't want their name on there, then we could use their zodiac sign or maybe an alligator or something.
Can we just put your name for every blank
Because
one?
we don't have any alligators in Mira Mesa, so they would know they're missing.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. So I think we should,
Do we have a second?
who was the second?
You did have a second.
Who was the second?
Okay, we have a motion in a second. Let's call the question. I'll count. 1.
All in favor?
Only get 30 now. Somebody must have left.
All opposed?
Abstentions? Okay, 30-0-0.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, next up, Joe Frickel, Mira Mesa Community Recreation Group.
The prior presentation was much ado about nothing. It's just because we deal with the city that we have to do all this stuff. Like Jeff said, we did get the approval of the salt project, which is supposed to start in May.
Yeah.
We also have a Wagenheim project that is supposed to start in May. Hasn't been presented to the planning group yet, but we're waiting for that to come forward.
Do they have a schedule for completion?
1 year.
Ooh, wow.
However, remember, the city is doing the work. Now, I don't mean to feel bad about the city, but the way they do business is really not logical as far as people that own their own independent business. But anyway, our next rec council meeting is on March 10th, which is a week from tomorrow. out of Lopez Ridge at 7 o'clock. If you have any concerns about anything in Park and Rec, that's where you need to come and go. Give us your ideas. We have had a big problem with graffiti. Apparently some young people are out running around without their parents. If you see somebody doing something wrong, almost everybody has a cell phone now. You don't have to confront them, just take a picture of whoever it is. We'll turn it in the police department. We want these people, if they're kids, we want their parents to pay to clean this stuff up. And that's the best way to teach a kid not to do anything, is when their parents take their cell phone away for a year. They learn a valuable lesson. So, but we do need help with that, because there's only a few of us, there's 80,000 people living here. If you see something going wrong, please document it, report it, somehow let us know what's going on. That's about it. Yes?
I'm trying to find out, people feeding the wildlife at Mira Mesa, it really upsets me. I've been taking videos and everything of people just, a woman came up the other day with a bag full of pellets and was just tossing it into the reservoir. And there are signs all over the place that say, this is animal harassment. So,
Here again, I don't want to cut you short, but that is the responsibility of the city of San Diego, not Mira Mesa. That's the city of San Diego. And the only thing you can do, there's a ranger up there, you gotta go tell people.
I did, and he was in the tent.
Yeah.
Is there a Scripps Ranch Recreation Council that has some oversight over Miramar Lake?
I'm aware. Miramar Lake, that's nothing to do with it.
It's a city reservoir,
Yeah.
but, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Good question.
Call the mayor.
Yeah.
All right, Mira Mesa Branch Library on Gibson.
Good evening. Well, we were honored to be the branch-wide kickoff location for our system-wide Spring into STEAM program this last Saturday. We had almost 100 people that came out for a show on wildlife and some crafts. If you haven't been in the library in the last few weeks, I invite you to come in and visit our newly created rainforest. That's the theme of Spring into STEAM this year, is Go Wild, rainforest conservation and education. So we had a great time there. Tomorrow, don't forget to vote. If you haven't already done your duty, precincts 130200 and 130280. If either of those are your polling place and you have not voted yet, come here between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. tomorrow. Mail ballots will also be accepted during those hours. So I hope that you all do your duty and take care of it. We have a couple of ongoing programs. Fun with Ukulele, don't forget the 4th Saturday of the month between 3 and 4. We've got quite a little circle going. And we all have a great time. We have our craft circle between 9:30 and noonish every Monday. They do a lot of fun stuff. It's a great time to bring something if you are working on it and want to socialize with people who like DIY and crafty things. Great group of ladies. And that's really it. We have a 3D printing workshop for teens. If any of you know teens that may want to learn to design a 3D object and have it printed. And that's kind of it for me. I've been at a conference all week, so I haven't been able to analyze the door count and all of that yet. So I'll give you 2 months worth next time. Do you have any questions?
What time is the ukulele circle?
3 to 4 on the 4th Saturday.
Thank you.
You ask your engineer to see if you can get the audio equipment
Yes.
as well as your awesome video equipment?
Yes, I apologize, we couldn't make the microphone play nicely with the speakers. We could trace the microphone going through only so far, and then we could hear stuff in the speakers from other places, but not from the microphone. So I don't know what that's about, except the city uses low bidders, so anyway. Any other questions?
I'll just jump in, not a question, but a comment. One group at the Mira Mesa Library, the Band Book Club, that normally meets the last Tuesday of the month, in March will be meeting the fourth Tuesday, March 24th, rather than the last Tuesday, March 31st. On March, and the reason is March 31st is a city holiday for Cesar Chavez Day, so library will be closed. But book group, 6:30 p.m., March 24th, will be discussing the science fiction classic I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. And come join us, it's a lot of fun.
How did the painting go?
Pardon me?
You could have had the building painted.
Okay, so here's the embarrassing thing, and I second what Joe said about having a lot of graffiti. So they finished painting. It was gorgeous. It was perfect. I felt like I had to put sunglasses on every time the sun was out, and I went out the staff door, which faces the 99-cent store, because that's a big, expansive white wall. We've had, so far, 4 instances of graffiti. And yeah, that is kind of discouraging, isn't it, Joe? I mean, I want to say also we have a second book group that is starting, and they meet, I want to say, the second Tuesday. But check out our online calendar. They're the Bibliomaniacs. They have a list of really interesting sounding books that they'll be discussing, and they invite anyone who's interested to join them. Okay, and there was a question back here? Yes?
Are there security cameras in the building? No.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
There will be soon.
I like that word. I like that word, not yet, but I have not heard anything about cameras. I'd like to.
We're gonna put them everywhere people are doing wrong things.
Oh, good.
It's a lot. Everywhere.
Yeah. We would also like them inside the library as well. And we have, apparently the cameras are there, but they're ages old and they don't do anything. Again, low bidder.
Thank you, Ida.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Scripps Mesa Fireworks, Michael Spencer.
Hello, I'm Michael. Three Roots and Vulcan have made pledges, and we thank them very much for the fireworks. I'm speaking through Michael, he's channeling through me right now. And the t-shirt contest is over. It was the month of February. We have been collecting the entries from the students' grades K through 5, the libraries, other places, and we're going to look through them starting on Wednesday. See what we can go with. This is our 4th year. We choose a student whose artwork represents Mira Mesa and the Scripps Ranch and the fireworks, and put that on a t-shirt. And the t-shirts are for sale, in case you haven't. And then you'll see me here with t-shirts for sale. So that's something else. So judging will be underway, and the costs have gone up, and it looks like we have had an increase this year. The reason for that is the price of the fireworks has gone up. So we are still asking people to make donations, and you can go to the website.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, elected officials, this should go very quickly. City Councilmember Chris Cate's office, Luis, he was here earlier. County Supervisor Kristen Gaspar, I got a message from Anthony George. I keep him in your thoughts. Dear family friend was taken ill. He's with them and it doesn't look very good. So he's not able to be here tonight. Mayor Faulkner's office, Eric Young was of course with us earlier in the program. Assemblyman Brian Mainshine. I don't see Rob. I don't think we can miss him. State Senator Tony Atkins, Diana Lara. It'll be fast. Scott Peters, Anthony Wen sends his apologies. He has just started leave. He's about to become a dad. So he's off until, I think he said he would see us in August since our meeting
to public health is Washington. It's very effective. When I took my public health courses for sanitation engineer, they said there's no more effective than cleaning your hands, soap and water.
Thank you. Susan?
Hi, everybody. How often have you asked someone, where do you want to go? So I'm doing something fun. It's not a project, I'm not fundraising. This is just a fun thing I decided to do. I'm doing a restaurant poll. Some of you I know have already taken it, because you've told me you have. It's on Facebook. It's on a whole bunch of different Facebook pages. It's one question, give me your 5 restaurants that you like the most. So far I have 232 people that have responded, and I sure would like some more because we have a lot of ties. And I had no idea there were so many restaurants. And it's a real easy way to find it on Facebook. If you go to the Mira Mesa Town Council Facebook page, and in the middle is like a little ribbon. Right next to the right of video is community. So you click on community, you scroll down and you'll see my post. You just click on it and you write your 5 restaurants. The poll's been up for about 2 weeks and it's going to be running till Saturday night. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
So you're announcing the results on Sunday then?
Yes. Yes. I have a spreadsheet with everything.
Perfect. Next up, Kay, I apologize if I mispronounced. Kay Ecoy? Pretty close. Ecoy. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Kay Ecoy. I'm on staff at a medical clinic that's on River Road. We're Turning Point Pregnancy Resource Center, and we offer free and vital services to women in pregnancies, ultrasounds, confirmed pregnancy, counseling, and support. We are a 501c3 supported by our community and by individuals, and we are having one of our 2 fundraising events this year. It's on April 30th. It is a very fun live auction. I don't know if you've ever been to a live auction, but it's fun, it's energetic. We have professional auctioneer Zach Crone. Funny and entertaining. We're going to have mocktails, we're going to have hors d'oeuvres and desserts, and we would love for you to come and support this community event. I have flyers on the back of the table. If you have any questions, my email address is also on the flyer. So, thank you. Thank you, guys. Next up, Vince Reyes. Still here, Vince?
Carol Platt. That's me. How many of you know about the community garden over here? All right. Well, I'm the manager, Carol Platt, and one of the 3 that started the garden 8 years ago. It's been very successful. It's really serviced a lot of folks in the community, especially those who live in condos and apartments that don't have room to have a garden. People from all over the world come there. It's an international group of people. Everybody gets their own plot, grows their own vegetables. We have monthly meetings. We educate each other about gardening techniques, and we also donate to the food bank at least twice a year. Well, this is both happy and sad for me. I'm part of the church. The garden may have to close, and there's a good possibility that it may close. And that is for happy reasons, that the church is expanding. And that corner lot on which the garden sits has been there since the church was built in the 70s to build the sanctuary. We've been having services in what's really the church hall all these years. So, the church that is joining us, that sold their property in Point Loma, they have the money, we have the land. And they're very anxious to get an architect to draw up some plans for us. So, I have a committee that helps me make decisions on the garden, and we have already started looking for an alternate site for the garden. And I am here to ask for your help. If you know of any places, we want to stay in Mira Mesa. I just texted a couple of the guys from the church who know the size of the garden. One says about a 1/3 acre, one says about a 1/4 of an acre. So that's what it is now. It doesn't necessarily need to be that big. Could be bigger, could be smaller. But we have all those materials, we don't want them to go in the landfill, and that's what's gonna happen if and when they start building the church. So we're doing kind of preparing for the worst in terms of the garden going away. So if you know anything, MMPC, Community Garden, and I get the emails. So sure appreciate your input if you have any.
Thank you, Val. All right, committee reports, Banner District, Jennifer.
I'm stuck back here. Hi. Banner District, not too much to report. Thank you for those that came out and did the photo shoot for the county fair. We had a couple of families show up with their kids, and it was really cute. Of course, a lot of high school kids. I think Dorothy was there, so I saw your picture come through. So those are going to be going up in May, and they'll stay through until after the county fair is done. And I just had an idea, as you were talking about the design, how cool would it be that the winner of that design, we could get a couple of banners made, maybe just like a couple to put on the main intersection. Since we put up our 4th of July banners, then to feature whoever the winner is with that, I don't know, it's just a thought, an idea. So we can look at that. I have a little bit of money still, so, you know, we'll see what that comes up. So, but I also just wanted to tell you guys a really fun event is coming up at the high school, and I'm just telling you because I know I'm at football practice almost every night because it's seniors versus juniors, girls football. And it's at the high school, and it's going to be on the 20th, the day before the Taste of Mira Mesa, and it's $10 a ticket, and it is so much fun to come and watch these girls who have worked really hard to play football, and they play against each other. And the cheerleaders, of course, are the boys.
Yes.
And the girls are the football players at Mira Mesa High School. So it's a really great event. It's open to everybody. $10 a ticket on the 20th, so we'd like to see you guys there. Anyways, thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
When is it?
The 20th. March 20th, the day before Taste of Mira Mesa on the 21st.
Volunteer of the Year dinner, Pam.
Okay, Volunteer of the Year dinner plans are well underway. We are honoring Jennifer Palvick as 2019 Volunteer